It began innocently, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. My husband, Michael, had been buried in work for months. Long hours, late nights, and a kind of exhaustion that slowly wears down a marriage. I felt unseen, like a background character in my own home. So when my coworker Jenna mentioned a private party downtown, I hesitated, then agreed. It's just a small thing, she said with a wink. No spouses, just fun. I told Michael it was a girls' night, something light and harmless. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "Have fun, love." His trust should have been my reason to stay home. But I didn't. The party wasn't small. It was held in a luxury penthouse filled with flashing lights, music vibrating through the floor, and people dressed like secrets waiting to be kept. Everyone laughed too loudly, drank too much, and flirted as if boundaries didn't exist. I shouldn't have been there, yet I felt pulled toward the danger of it all, the thrill of doing something forbidden. When a man I barely knew handed me a drink and said, "You look too tense for a married woman," I laughed. The sound didn't even feel like it belonged to me. For a few hours, I pretended I was someone else, someone who owed no one an explanation. But every thrill has its price. As the night went on, I danced, laughed, and let my guard fall lower than it ever should have. The man, Chris, stayed close, too close. He complimented me, whispered things that made my heart race in ways I didn't want to admit. And although I never crossed a physical line, I knew I was standing right at its edge. I caught myself checking my phone more than once, wondering if Michael had texted. He hadn't. Guilt crept in slowly, heavy and dull. Still, I stayed, convincing myself I deserved one night of fun, one night to forget how distant everything felt. Then came the moment that shattered it all. I was leaning against the balcony railing, drink in hand, when a chill ran through me, that instinctive feeling of being watched. I turned, and there he was. Michael stood near the elevator in his dark gray suit, his expression unreadable. Our eyes met, and the world went silent. The music faded, the laughter blurred. It was only him and me. My heart stopped. "Michael," I whispered. But he didn't move. He just stared, pain and disappointment mixing in his eyes, cutting deeper than any words could. Then, without speaking, he turned and walked away. I chased after him, my heels echoing on the marble floor. "Michael, please," I called, but he didn't stop. By the time I reached the street, he was gone. Panic crushed my chest. I called again and again, every call sent to voicemail. I went home hoping he'd be there, but the house was dark and cold. His wedding ring lay on the kitchen counter beside a folded note. My hands shook as I opened it. The note had only 5 words. "Now you've had your fun." I collapsed onto the floor, sobbing into the silence. The next few days were agony. Michael didn't come home. He didn't answer texts, calls, or messages from friends. I later learned he had seen everything. Jenna had invited her boyfriend, who happened to work with Michael. A few photos from the party had already spread across social media before I even got home. To everyone else, it looked like I was having the time of my life. To him, it looked like betrayal. And maybe it was. I tried to explain, to tell him nothing happened, that it was just a reckless night. But deep down, I knew it wasn't about physical betrayal. It was emotional. I had hidden something, lied to his face, and damaged the trust we built. Days turned into weeks, and the silence between us grew into a wall I couldn't climb. When he finally agreed to meet me, his voice was calm but final. "You didn't cheat with your body," he said, "but you did with your choices." That night, after he left, I sat wearing the same dress from the party, staring at my reflection. I barely recognized the woman looking back. She wasn't bold or misunderstood. She was lost. I realized the party had never been about fun or freedom. It was about filling a void that only honesty could have healed. Instead, I chose lies, and now I was alone. Months later, I heard Michael had moved to another city and started over. He didn't remarry, and I understood why. I kept the note he left. Now you've had your fun, not as punishment, but as a reminder. A reminder that trust, once broken, rarely returns the same. Every time I see my reflection now, I remember that night. The flashing lights, the laughter, and the look in his eyes that told me love had turned into heartbreak. That's how I learned the thrill of a secret is never worth the silence it leaves behind.